And we're live. It says so right here.
I feel live. I'm feeling pretty live.
Yes.
Should we start up the airplanes of delay?
Only for a moment, since we've already delayed.
All right. There we go. That's that sound.
It's coming right at me, but then it veers off.
Yeah.
I like that. I feel safe.
It veers persistently. It's very consistent in that manner.
Meh. Good enough, I think. Good enough.
All right. By way of explanation, we've used that thing for years now. And I know at least one person that says they know that they've tuned in when they can hear that rattle. But we're just going to launch ahead. This program is called This Is Now, Bridge to a Better World. I'm Teresa Mitchell, and that
I'm
is
Ani.
Ani Raven Haynes. And we want to present some commentary and even some Tarot-inspired comments. So we'll be getting around to that just about right now. Americans, fellow vermin, lend me your ears. Maybe a vermin would say, "Let me," in a rat voice, "Lend me you ears." We vermin must unite as never before. Do you mind if I adjust?
You adjust that screen. Okay. I mean, camera. I mean, angle.
Right. Hold your verminous tails and flags high as we consider the depth of the Orange Mussolini problem and how we can best prevent an anti-Semitic, anti-trans, anti-Rasa, anti-black, anti-old people, anti-prosperity mass of professional thugs from taking the seats of government. No, I'm not just talking about the usual MAGA crowd. I need to tell you how bad it is. That vermin speech from Trump has gotten a lot of comments, and you being the perspicacious lot that you are, you know that it was lifted directly from Mussolini and Hitler speeches. And it is intended to dial down on demagoguery by identifying and insulting the enemy within. And this is something that I don't think this is something that Trump came up with quite himself. I think it's something that he's very familiar with and something that he's likely to come up with. But I think the timing for this actually came from much more professional, much more intelligent, and although I won't say more evil people than himself, there has been a huge confluence of money, big corporate money behind taking the White House again. And people have complained that the Russians are very much for this and that they support it, probably with money and, obviously with their hacking efforts. You'll recall Trump getting out in front of the cameras and saying, "Russia, if you're listening," and then getting what he wanted. Well, that's pretty bad. But the people who are funding this coming presidential election could buy Russia. These are people who have real money. So that vermin speech.
Who are those people?
Well, I tend to identify Koch. That's who everyone remembers. There's probably about a dozen billionaires that I could name here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just say Koch and hope that you'll look up the rest of them if you are interested. That vermin speech from Trump, and I think maybe it should be called the vermin speech because it marks a point in history in which he decided to go absolutely full fascist. He wants fascism. He wants to end American democracy, hold the presidency indefinitely. That speech was timed to coincide with the launch of Project 2025. And they put out, at the same time the speech was made, they put out a massive effort on social media, not the sort of media that you would see, but the sort of media that veterans who support Trump would see. And they asked people to join an army again. They phrased it as, you made an oath to the Constitution and you have not renounced your oath. And we now call in your oath, which is just horribly mendacious because what they intend to do is to destroy the Constitution. But let me give you some details.
Well, that's also fairly oath-keeping, who have been busted hard.
Yeah, okay. Within the context, sure. You're right.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking of it literally, and you're thinking of it within the context that we already have people call themselves oath keepers.
Well,
being that way. So yeah.
Yeah. Carry on.
Carry on. I don't see any carry on. So as I was saying, that speech was timed to coincide with the rollout of this web effort. And what they're doing, well, Project 2025 is huge and funded to the tunes of billions of dollars by fascist-leaning billionaires like Charles Koch. Koch, by the way, has realized that the Grim Reaper is coming for him also. His brother David is dead. And so Chuck has institutionalized his money into the anti-human foundations that will be funding this election and the subsequent remaking of government by our very angry corporate masters, simultaneously with the Vermin speech. Koch money launched an appeal to angry veterans, asking them to form a new army to pressure state legislatures across the country to go along with a plan to replace the Constitution. This is no exaggeration, as you'll see by the following details, and I hope by your own inquiry and study. See, when Trump lost the majority in 2016, it was expected, but the electoral count, emphasizing as it does the power of depopulated and or gerrymandered reactionary states, actually put him into the White House. He didn't know what to do. He didn't expect it. It was a surprise, and so he entered the seat of government, trailed by whatever true believers, sycophantic professionals, opportunistic exterminationists that were on the ball and ready to go. And of course, Stephen Miller was among them, the architect of banning Muslims for their faith and separating children from their mamas and daddies. He was one of those, and he plans to be back. But that was an accidental set of goons. This time, the big money is making sure that there will be literally thousands of arch reactionaries and fascists in place. Now, you might say, now the government is too big to be replaced like that, and the government and the president can't just fire people, but they're arranging that. The name of that effort slips my mind right now, but this new mindset matches Mr. Trump's declaration that he is waging a final battle against demonic enemies, populating a deep state within the government that is bent on destroying America. And this is why I'm saying, fellow vermin, unite. You better know that you are vermin and that you are the enemy. And consequences are coming to you. And in what form, I don't know exactly, although he has certainly said that he will be making massive concentration camps to grab brown people who don't have their papers on them. Basically, that's the way it always works out. New York Times, in an article by Jonathan Swan and Charlie Savage and Maggie Haberman, say close allies of Donald J. Trump are preparing to populate a new administration with a more aggressive breed of right-wing lawyer, dispensing with traditional conservatives who they believe stymied his agenda in his first term. And when we say more aggressive, these people think that the Heritage Foundation is too left. The allies have been drawing up a list of lawyers. Heritage Foundation is involved. I suppose they're not too insulted. A list of lawyers they view as ideologically and temperamentally suited to serve in a second Trump administration. Their aim is to reduce the chances that politically appointed lawyers would frustrate a more radical White House agenda, as they sometimes did when Mr. Trump was in office, by raising objections to his desires for certain harsher immigration policies or for greater personal control over the Justice Department, among others. Now, as Trump allies grow more confident in an election victory next fall, and whose fault is that?
Oh, I don't know. There's about 100 people I can point to.
Yeah,
right
really.
Now,
well, right now I'm thinking of.
But who are you thinking of? Oh, yeah, lackluster.
Very weak. His non-support for human rights, in the whole. This derails the discussion if I go too far. But oh my God, Biden, he lost a lot of votes. Anyway, here's the plan. Veterans are being activated, as they were by Hitler and Mussolini, because they know that that pool is a reliable source of angry, active, violent, reactionary politics. And if you're a veteran, I know that it doesn't necessarily apply to you, but I think you will agree with me that they're within the pools of, let's say, veterans of failed wars. There are a lot of angry and reactionary people who can be swayed by this sort of thing. They will mount a campaign to convince state legislatures, which have already shifted deep red as a result of years of Koch-funded gerrymandering and phone banking. That wasn't just for the hell of it. This last decade has turned those state legislatures red. Why? For this effort, each of them will now call for a new constitution, as provided for in the current constitution under Article 5. Excuse me. Article 5 says that if 2/3 of the states call for a constitutional convention, it shall be convened. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. 2/3, it's in. They're very close to that. And they were very upset when they recently lost control of a state legislature. This is why you have to vote deep. You can't just vote for president. So if 2/3 of the states call for a constitutional convention, it shall be convened. They can make any changes they like. And the vote goes back to the states for final approval. What changes do they want? They want to phrase their amendments so that it is not clear. What do they want is not going to be clear. They want to eliminate government oversight of polluting and labor abusing industries, eliminate taxation of rich.
Eliminate.
Eliminate.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
where my head's at. I can't get vowels at. Eliminate taxation of rich corporations and destroy Social Security. This is a very important part of their agenda. But this is not how the amendments will be phrased. They know that this is unpopular. They will phrase it in ways that can be legally interpreted to do this. They will do this, and then they will use the same power that they've been doing recently, like getting a cake maker or someone who doesn't have a real fight to go to the Supreme Court and say, rule in the favor of this conservative idea, until they have destroyed Social Security and they have destroyed taxation of corporations. It'll all look technical, and their idea is to bring this stuff forward and really not make a big fuss about it. Term limits is what they're going to say. Everyone's in favor of term limits, they'll say, and that'll be part of it. And the rest of it just won't be real clear. And it will go back to the states. And people like me and Nani will be saying, wait a minute, this is trickery. Make sure you vote. Make sure you come out. And it'll be hard to mobilize, because it'll be hard to get people to understand that this is an attempt to completely change government, to end any citizen oversight of corporations, and in short, to go full fascist. And part of those term limits will be an unlimited term, you can bet, for President Trump, because he does not intend to ever have to deal with re-election again. He's permanently our ruler. And right now, they're ahead in the polls. So I could go on with this. I could give more details, but I think you get the point. There is a massive effort going through right now, and it's good timing for them, really good timing, because Biden did not show any support. He barely showed any support. The support that he showed for human rights was pitiful enough to be embarrassing. And people who supported him and got him in office are dropping away.
In fact, well, and there's more to that. There are progressives in Congress who have signed on to a letter demanding ceasefire. And they are being targeted, frankly, by the establishment Democrats in terms of reelection, in terms of being cut off from support. Right. So this is a problem. It's the lobby, the Israeli lobby, is spending $100 million in the next election cycle to oppose progressive Democrats, right? To fund establishment candidates that really, at this moment, don't give a damn about human rights. And so this is, it's a serious deal right now. If Democrats are going to actually be a party of the people, they haven't yet, right? They haven't been for one hell of a long time, if ever. But if we really want a true opposition party, they need to actually give some attention to what the people are demanding, as thousands of people are becoming are moved to direct action, to demand human rights, to demand a ceasefire, to demand a stop to an attempted genocide being live streamed before our eyes. It is important for the so-called leaders of the party of the people to listen to the people in a way that maybe they haven't before. I am kind of sick of seeing these talking points go by in the media saying people just haven't realized the greatness of Biden. Those ungrateful progressives are about to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Why, look, he's done all of these pretty good things since he's been in office. Like, there have been caps on some prescription drugs. There are more people receiving health care. These incremental shifts have happened.
He is pro-union to a point.
And he is pro-union to actually a fairly large point. He was, I think, the first sitting president to actually address, a union rally, right? So that's significant. But at the same time, and I actually do know somebody whose student loans were forgiven. That's life changing for a lot of people, and credit where it's due. But here we are in a crisis of humanity. As I said, with genocide being live streamed, and all he's doing is parroting the talking points of the leaders that are doing the genociding across the world. When being confronted yesterday with a reporter who's actually asking about the attacks the Israeli Defense Forces have carried out on hospitals, he rather woodenly states, well, yeah, but the hospitals are being used as command centers for Hamas. As if we just need to take everyone's word for that and we get to ignore, uh, you know, 70 years of international conventions and war crimes and it's not a first for the US. We've ignored, conventions about war crimes in the past, certainly, but we want more, right? We want better from our leadership. And as people are pouring into the streets demanding a ceasefire, demanding that the US stop arming the people committing genocide, and that we demand in fact a ceasefire, it doesn't look good for the establishment Democrats to just sort of go, it's all right, nothing to see here, don't worry
It
about
makes
it.
everything harder. I mean,
It's
if
really hard
it's
to
not
support
so
this.
hard, yeah, it's not so hard to uh, parse things out once you take a deep breath and you can see that um, whereas Jews around the world are literally oppressed and killed just for being Jews, whereas that is true, a monster has been created in their name called the State of Israel. And we, to the tune of $3.8 billion a year for every year for generations now, have allowed them to have their satellite guided missiles and their anti-missile platforms and their tanks and their guns and their submarines, and created this colossus in the Middle East to project American power, which is now being projected against the world's largest prison, which had an ugly, horrible breakout. And I feel for all the people who were just grotesquely massacred and raped when that happened. But it was a prison breakout, and they do tend to be angry. We can sort all these things out. We can see these dynamics. We can see what caused what. And Biden makes it so much worse by saying, by siding with these people who say that any gesture against Israeli militarism and Israeli exterminationism is anti-Semitic. That's very untrue. And I consider it.
Anti-civilian action is anti-civilian action.
Yeah.
Period.
It's not that hard to sort out, is what I'm saying. But things are tense, and it's hard to say one thing or another. I intend to go. Oh, by the way, there is a rally tonight. Let me give you those details.
Well, and so as Teresa is getting these details, I want to make a little comparison. When we were talking about the words of the Mango Mussolini in his Vermin speech earlier, talking about seeking out the communists, the Marxists, the fascists, interesting, and the leftist thugs, to root them out, the vermin of society. He's dehumanizing us, right? And dehumanizing always precedes slaughter. It makes it easier. And so this is what we are really being prepped for, right? When we hear dehumanizing language, it's never a good outcome. And so on this week, a week before our Thanksgiving, I just want to point out that dehumanizing has always been used before slaughters. As we look at Thanksgiving next Thursday, remember the genocidalist settlers to this land, of course, we are always, acknowledging that we live on stolen land, that the genocidalists that came before us, called Native Americans nits and went after youth, went after babies with the phrase "nits make lice," and and that was justification to exterminate babies, Native babies, Indigenous babies. And now we look at what's happening around the world, and we look at what's happening currently in Gaza, and we've heard people say there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. All Palestinians are guilty somehow of the crimes of Hamas. And we hear them talk about the guilt of the entire Palestinian population, knowing that over 4,500 children have been murdered in the actions and the war crimes and the bombings, in the cutting off of fuel and food and water, in the forced relocation of the population, and the destruction of the hospitals. We know that over 4,500 children have been murdered in this last month. And again, it's the dehumanization that makes it possible. It's the dehumanization that makes it easier for people to sort of stomach in some way. And so it is with this historic and international view that I hear Trump's uh, recent speech calling us vermin. And it hits. And so I think it's important to look at his plan to come to power by any means necessary and to maintain that power by any means necessary, because he is, in fact, a full on fascist, not at all opposed to creating an absolutely fascist state here in the US. And I just wanted to sort of make these connections because it's what's been keeping me up at night.
Yes, he knows that his calls for violence result in stochastic terror, and everyone knows that stochastic terror reduces people's desire or willingness to go to the polls. He's building the strength of terror to keep people from voting against him because he knows only a minority will vote for him. So the demonstration tonight is called "Shut It Down for Palestine," candlelight vigil and call for a ceasefire. It's at the University of Portland. 5,000 North Willamette Boulevard, downtown.
It's not downtown.
Huh?
North Willamette Boulevard is not downtown.
That's what I thought.
It's on Mox Crest. U of P. It's on Mox Crest in North Portland, sort of by the Portsmouth neighborhood, if you will.
Okay, I'm thinking the wrong university. Thank you for catching that. Okay, so over off Mox Crest, yes. Oak Tree by the bookstore, it says. And they have a note that says, "Hello, friends. If you're free this Friday, University of Portland students are putting on the first ever Palestine Solidarity Action on the campus. This is especially important because the administration and campus is very Zionist, and the students could use the turnout to feel supported." So we plan to show up, and I'll be there in my wheelchair because I can't walk more than a couple of blocks, and maybe I'll get a little flag and go, "Don't kill babies," or something horrible and anti-Semitic like that. I'm like,
you might want to clarify what you're
sarcasm.
Like, this may not be the time for sarcasm. I'm just saying.
Yeah, gonna do that. And this, wow, it's a moment. It's a moment in history. This, they lucked out, I've got to say, in terms of their own plans. The October, of course, it may be all planned together. But the October 7th terror and the resulting exterminationist policies of Israel are coming down at the same time as Trump is there asking people to be angry and stupid. And it's just a whirlwind of angry and stupid. And we have to hold our ground, we vermin, and produce massive political power to push back this fascism. And I want to say that when people said the first time he was trying to get elected, this is really bad, things will get worse if he's elected. This is what they meant. This is what they meant. And it still goes back to that stupid, vain man getting upset because President Obama and Seth Meyers roasted him at the journalist. What's the name of the journalist gathering?
The the press gathering,
Yeah,
the
we'll think of it later.
yeah.
But it just goes back to his venality. But there's a lot of Americans who really want to express their venality and feel liberated by the fact that they can look to this leader who allows them to. I mean, their favorite thing is just to be openly racist. That's what they really, really love, and so they can't be pried from him no matter what. And then there are others who think maybe it'd just be a good time to have a strong man and just don't look at anything else. Tired of democracy, scared of the complexity, don't know what's up and what's down, so just vote for a strong man. But of course, that is intended to make you feel strong vicariously, and what it really is revealing how very weak you are to need vicarious strength. I think that needs to be expressed to MAGA heads as well. Thus endeth the lesson.
I want to encourage you to please like this video. Please like this video, share it with friends and family. We also need to really create strong bonds with each other, knowing that we have to support each other through this, what's going to be a long slog, really.
Hell yeah.
I'm interested in reading Rachel Maddow's book. She has just published a new book called Prequel, An American Fight Against Fascism. It is actually coming out today. I've been hearing some interviews about it. And this is actually a book exposing what was very nearly America's turn towards Hitler in the 30s. And so, including incredible fascist, Hitlerian, pro Hitlerian takes from the wife of Charles Lindbergh and other notable rich folk of the day. And so I'm going to be very interested in reading that. Um, Somehow we came through it before, sort of. Um, let's really educate each other and those around us, and carry this story forward. Please do like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Please do so. Do you have anything else, my dear?
Well, I noticed there's a comment saying that 10.7 was not the cause. This is very true. 10.7 was the trigger. And I think I've mentioned last week, but I want to mention again, there appear to be very extensive and long planned effort. Well, there are plans in place to put a canal from the Mediterranean Sea to the Dead Sea, and this would require removing North Gaza. How convenient is that?
Yeah, there's always geopolitical reasons, right, for crimes against humanity. We can look at our war in Afghanistan, for example, which actually was justified by the attacks on 9/11, but had absolutely nothing to do with with the attacks on 9/11. There's long world history of this. But yeah, thanks for making that absolutely clear. Thanks to our watcher that says the book is already out. She saw it at Target. Right on. It seems like a good read right about now. Anything else? I'm going to move on towards.
I could be here all day, but
yeah, you could.
That was the.
But let's not. Let's in fact get on with the. Well, I mentioned we need to create community bonds. We need to create community wherever we can, grow community, support each other. Mutual aid is the way to go always. And I want to point out some tarot cards that we got. Interestingly enough, two of them are return. So I think the Knight of Cups has shown up for the last several weeks. Knight of Cups, this may look familiar to y'all at this point. We have the Knight of Cups, we have the Ten of Wands, and we have the Lovers. And so, what does this all mean? Well, this week it's important again to really be guided by the wisdom of our hearts, be guided by the wisdom of our emotional selves. Our emotional intelligence needs to be heated, but not in a judgmental way, not in a way where we start hating on others, not that part of our emotional selves, the the emotional self that actually speaks to where we find beauty, where we find connection, where we find joy. And we need to listen to that part of our emotional intelligence and really take care and connect. Um, this is a card that talks about, we may be winning arguments. We may be in the right. We may have been defending our points of view. We may be uh, prevailing in gathering public opinion, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And so make sure that you are, in fact, deeply taking care of yourself. Look at the face of that cat. Yes, yes, that cat has won all the little cat balls, but she's really tired, right? She's really, really tired from doing it. Um, so make sure that you are taking time to enjoy the beauty, to enjoy connection with each other, to enjoy the beauty that surrounds us, that is the abundance of the natural world. The fall colors are beautiful. Immerse yourself in beauty, immerse yourself in love, and find connection with your friends, with your family, with your partners, and celebrate that beauty, because we need it to sustain us. We cannot run on empty. This is not a sprint, right? It's for the long haul, and we must continue to take care of each other and to demand justice for ourselves and for the world. And I say it with love. Send it with love. And with that, we're out.
Thanks for tuning in.
Do what you can
Looks
to
lovely out.
live with peace, to share peace, and to demand peace.
Our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea.
Cheers.